Will signs follow those who believe? Look at Mark chapter 16. If you ever have a conversation with Pentecostal, someone who believes that there's still miraculous signs today, this might be a text that you look at. Mark chapter 16, and let's read verse 17. It says, "These signs will follow those who believe. In my name, they will cast out demons. They will speak with new tongues. They will take up serpents. If they drink anything deadly, it will by no means hurt them. They will lay hands on the sick and they will recover." Okay? Sometimes, if you are a member of an apostolic or Pentecostal church, some of them are actually, it's required, they demand that they perform a sign such as speaking in tongues to prove that they are believers. And this passage is one of the passages that is used for why they would require that. Now, when you read this passage out of context, it seems to teach that every believer is going to have to be able to practice these miracles and these signs. But there's a lot of problems with this teaching. And I just like to point out the context of Mark 16 so that we can see that that's being taken out of its context. Immediately after the resurrection of Jesus, let's put ourselves in the context, many of his disciples were unbelieving. And look at verse 14. It says, "Later, Jesus appeared to the 11 as they sat at the table, and he rebuked their unbelief and hardness of heart." Whose unbelief? The 11. The 11, the apostles. Jesus rebukes their unbelief and hardness of heart because they did not believe those who had seen him after he had risen. And so, Jesus rebukes those who were skeptical. In verses 15 and 16, it goes on to show how Jesus demanded they go preach the gospel to the world. So he says, "He who believes and is baptized will be saved. He who does not believe will be condemned." In those passages. Now, think about verse 17. "These signs will follow those who believe." In verse 14, he just rebuked them for unbelief. In verse 17, he says, "These signs will follow those who believe." It is important for a pronoun to agree with its antecedent in grammar. And the last applicable antecedent that the pronoun "those" could refer to in the passage is the 11 from verse 14. And so the "those" who are promised accompanying signs is limited to the group that Jesus was speaking to in this passage, the 11 apostles. This was not a promise for everyone. Not everyone was going to have miraculous gifts. The passage we studied this morning, 1 Corinthians 12, even points that out. Are all apostles? Are all workers of miracles? The answer is no. Not everybody can do that. Not even in the first century church where there was miraculous gifts. And so signs are not to follow every single believer. That's not taught in Mark 16, and it's not even taught among the first century church when those gifts were distributed.